Final 9 holes of the JCPenney LPGA Skins Game today on ABC.
Back live at the Indianapolis 500, I'm Paul Page. We watch a battle for fourth between the defending champion Al Unser Jr. and his nemesis of last year, Scott Goodyear. They have been closing on the track. Last lap speed on the Valvoline speed chart as we keep track of this race. The view backwards from Al Unser Jr. Fastest lap thus far, 214.184 miles an hour.
Eerie similarity to the last year. What, of course, is different is that the track is so substantially changed that the turns are narrower. You see the grass there on the inside where there used to be an apron. The question was, would that make the start more dangerous? Everyone funneling into turn one with nowhere to go? Well, everybody was careful, and it's worked out. The question now is, can you pass on this track, reconfigured as it is? So far, we've seen them strung out. The atmosphere has been more like a no-hitter going in baseball. No real action, per se. But I think there's tension, and it's a question of these drivers getting the feel of the track. We're going to start to see passes soon, and it may be between these two drivers.
Well, Sam and Paul, as I watch the track, it's getting a little bit slippery, as typical. Early in the race, the guys lose a little bit of fuel because they have everything fuel or fluid, period, they have everything full. And so it gets a little bit slippery. And that's the reason everybody's being a little bit careful. Remember, the groove is narrow this year because they're all having to run on the racetrack.
And Mario Andretti has just managed to move around Ari Luyendyk and into second place as they are already overcoming slower cars in the field. Mario using those cars to his advantage and moves now to second. Fastest lap in the race, still 214 miles an hour.
They say there are old drivers and bold drivers, but no old, bold drivers. Mario at 53, I would say, qualifies as both.
You got a glimpse at the Valvoline driver's summary. We'll be seeing that throughout the day.
The enormous crowd here. So far, the weather excellent, but everyone has been looking at the radar screens that are scattered through the garage areas. There's a front passing, has already come into Indiana and is passing across the northern part of the state. Whether we catch a corner of that or not may very well determine how this race comes out.
You can see, too, that Scott Goodyear has moved around Al Unser Jr. And now take a look at Emerson Fittipaldi as he comes around Johansson, takes advantage of a fight between those two, and now sets his sights on Al Unser Jr. If there is a question about where they will pass, they've already begun to figure it out.
But that pass was on Stefan Johansson, an experienced Formula One driver, but a rookie here at the Speedway. I think he was very careful. Here comes Emerson again now on Little Al, and he sweeps by Little Al. So Emerson is on the move, and he is the first man to prove that you can pass if you've got your act together here.
Fittipaldi very definitely on the fly, has moved up 2 positions in a single lap. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, we're beginning to see the reports of the cars getting very, very loose. That means the tail wants to swap ends with the nose. That's the case with Scott Goodyear, and now with Al Unser Jr. as well. The heat taking its toll in the early going and the chassis combinations.
We keep an eye on this battle now as you're watching the reigning world champion, Nigel Mansell, as he moves underneath Paul Tracy, and he comes forward in the field. Mansell now moving up into 9th place. This battle at the tail end of the top 10. RAUL BOESEL continues to lead. Now Tracy trying to set up on Nigel Mansell.
And remember, Mansell, as you see him being repassed there by Tracy, has never run on an oval before. He crashed before running at Phoenix. He's also never run in a race more than 200 miles long. So he's got a lot of things to learn today.
Paul Tracy now looks for room right behind Al Unser Jr. as he moved around Mansell. They head down into the first turn as Mansell signals to his board operator, and they turn toward Bobby Unser.
Well, Paul is still the same.
Yellow light, the yellow flag. And a car spun on the backstretch, but managed to keep it going.
It's Jim Crawford, I believe, of the Kenny Bernstein team. Crawford, who, of course, has had such an up-and-down career
60 car, right.
here. But luckily, he has not hit anything, although you see some smoke coming out of the back now.
Everything looks good over here, Paul and Sam. The only thing is that the track is very slippery right now, and everybody seems to be a little bit loose.
So with 15 laps into the 77th running of the Indianapolis 500, RAUL BOESEL leads, and we are under our first yellow. No contact with the wall, though.
ABC Sports exclusive coverage of the Indianapolis 500. Brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, Chevrolet, and your local Chevy dealer. By Goodyear, #1 in tires. By Valvoline, people who know use Valvoline. And by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold.
Back live at Indianapolis under yellow. The reason for the yellow, a spin by Jim Crawford. Bobby Unser, it happened right in front of you.
Yes, and you can see, Paul, as they came off over here, they've been loose, as I mentioned to you. Jim Crawford's rear end was just loose. They've lost a lot of fluids in the cars, and the track is just slippery as you come off here. Now we can watch him in slow motion. He's coming through there. There he is, second car from the back. There you can see the rear end just slowly came around. Now, if you're going to have a spin, you couldn't have a better one than that. Now here's a replay in slow motion. Watch him, second car from the right there. There's Jim Crawford. He was below the groove, which means that he was running low because it's a little bit loose. See, all the smoke comes around, it anchors itself, the front end comes back around. Now let's go to Jack Arute. He has a report on the leader.
No, I don't. The radio.
No.
Let's go instead to Jerry Punch.
Jim Crawford came in minutes ago, and take a look at the tires that came off his car. When he spun here, the right front tire and the left front tire both eating away at 200 miles an hour. That's what's left of the tires. Crawford, by the way, has no radio communications with his crew. Let's check in with Jack Arute.
Well, Gary, the leader, RAUL BOESEL, came in and it was a lucky yellow because they pulled this out of the radiator area, and you know what in the heat this could do. But Dick Simon, there is some talk that Mario Andretti is complaining that maybe Raul passed him on pit road. What's the situation?
That is legal as long as he doesn't exceed 100 miles an hour. In the pits, it is still the same as the race course. And when Mario was slowing down for his pits, he should be able to pass him.
There you have it, Paul.
Dick Simon, first time a Dick Simon-owned car has ever led at Indy when Raul took the lead there. ABC's Wild Thing Weekend continues tonight when Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline star in A Fish Called Wanda. And then tomorrow night, African Beasts Go Wild in The Race for Life, and John Belushi goes wild in Animal House. That's all tomorrow here on ABC. Well, Kevin Cogan will lead the pack around as the leader of the race. He did not go into the pits, one of very few that did. For an update on Al Unser Jr., here's Gary Gerald.
Taking advantage of the yellow, the Unser crew came in, changed tires, added fuel. They took 2 full turns on the front wing. He was complaining, as Jack mentioned earlier, that it was loose. They've hopefully addressed that. Both Penske cars and adjacent pits, Fittipaldi and Tracy in, everything routine for them, Paul.
Kevin Cogan, Al Unser, John Andretti, and Robbie Gordon have not come into the pits. Dominic Dobson just has. So already the tactics of this day are beginning to play, and Sam the Cloud has been clouding up the sky just a little bit.
Yes, the rules are that the race must go half distance, which is 100 laps, plus 1 lap. There's Kevin Cogan. Before it can be an official race, it can, of course, be restarted if the officials, led by Tom Binford, think that the track will dry out before the end of the day. But that's all conjecture right now. We've got a race on our hands.
Well, so far, I can see from turn 2, Sam and Paul, a long way to the west, and we don't have any rain in sight. I realize it's getting a little cloudy, but they're not rain clouds yet.
It's extraordinary to see Kevin Cogan back in the field at all, much less leading the race after his horrific crash 2 years ago and his very difficult rehabilitation period. A lot of pain suffered by this man. Great determination as shown by Kevin Cogan to be back in the field.
Green to the front row is green to the field, and already there is a battle underway at the front as Kevin Cogan leads them down. Al Unser now, he runs in second place. His car very similar to Crawford's and Guerrero's. You'll be able to tell it by the blue nose wings on the car. There's RAUL BOESEL as he now tries to work his way through the field. Mario Andretti sits just in front of him. They're actually in 4th place, battling for 4th right now.
And the car they're passing there, you see Mario go underneath John Andretti in the black A.J. Foyt car.
Kevin Cogan still at the front, being chased by Al Unser.
Most of the guys have probably made adjustments to their wings. We couldn't see them all when they came in, Paul and Sam, but they've made adjustments to them, and so far right now, just one time, they look a little better through here.
Mario Andretti got around John. Very shortly, Raul will try to make the same move. Stefan Gregoire, they're just ahead of Scott Goodyear.
Gregoire is in that very brightly colored car, a rookie from France.
The leader of the race, Kevin Kogan, with Al Unser just behind him.
One can only think back to 1986 when Kevin Kogan so nearly had this race won with just a few laps left to go. Ari Lyondike hit the end of the pit wall, brought out a yellow, and on the restart, Bobby Rahal, who isn't even in the race today, outstarted Kevin Kogan. Kogan finished second. He's always thought to himself, this is a race I can win. I believe he can.
This is the first time that Kogan has led since his near miss at a victory, giving it up to Bobby Rahal in 1986.
The extraordinary thing is it's the first time Kevin Kogan has really been in a race car for 2 years. Look at this.
And there is a pass for the lead. And boy, look at that as Big Al ducks underneath Kevin Kogan. And did he get around him quick? We suggested at starting that part of the way you're going to do this is slowing down a little bit on the approach to the corner and slingshot. And Bobby Unser looks like what they did there.
Well, they certainly are, Paul. You're gonna watch as the race goes on that the strategies are really going to come out in passing, and we're going to see some ingenious passing from one time to the other.
And Raul Boesel on the pit road. No indication as to what this stop may be for. He refueled during the yellow flag.
This could not be a planned stop. A stop and go. It's an assessed penalty, it looks like.
Now they ran him in and out quickly. Appeared to check something, and you saw a little puff of wheel smoke as he came out the
I think that was serving the penalty that he might have incurred passing illegally as he left the pits. I think that was our story.
That is the confirmation as we watch Al Unser.
Al Unser, of course, a four-time winner, the only active four-time winner now in business. A.J. Foyt having retired earlier this month, and of course Rick Mears retiring at the end of last year. This is the man, the only man alive right now that could win 5 Indianapolises. Of course, he finished a brilliant third here last year.
Paul, I think that one of the most amazing things that I'm seeing right now is the speed that Big Al is doing. If you notice that Kogan's behind him, but right behind Kogan is Mario Andretti. Now, Big Al was running back around 18th. Now he's able to lead the race.
Big Al's been running laps at 211 miles an hour.
Whereas Boesel had been able to crank out laps at 214.
Valvoline driver summary on Al Unser, the senior Unser. Bobby, does he have a specific game plan? Has he shared it with you?
Paul, I don't think he does. In fact, these new mechanics he's never worked with before, and I think it's just all new to him, and they're just figuring it out last night.
And this is a look back.